from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital. This is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Amarachi Ubani.
Tonight, Queen Elizabeth's coffin arrives at the palace in Edinburgh after being greeted by thousands of people at the city's Royal Mile. Federal government drags academic staff union of universities to the industrial court over the lecturers' lingering strike action. Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project SERAP sues President Buhari, asks court to declare its refusal to meet ASU's demands illegal. And U.S. President Joe Biden invokes memory of America's united response to the September 11 attacks as the country marks the 21st anniversary of the deadly attack. King Charles III continued another day of official duties since he assumed the role of leading the monarch following the Queen's death on Thursday. Earlier in the day, he held meetings in Buckingham Palace, hosted an audience with Commonwealth Secretary-General Patricia Scotland. At Buckingham Palace, it comes as the Queen's cortege made its way from Scotland to Holyrood House Palace in preparation for funeral activities this week. It's been another day of activities in the UK since the passing of Queen Elizabeth II last week. Today, the Queen's coffin, draped in the Royal Standard of Scotland, with a wreath on top, left her home in the Scottish Highlands on a slow 6-hour journey to Edinburgh. Accompanied by the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, the cortege slowly made its way from the remote castle, winding down through small towns and villages, with destination Edinburgh up ahead. Mourners lined the streets in the village of Ballater as they watched the Queen's coffin journey through Scotland. In the meantime, large crowds made their way up Windsor's Long Walk to pay their last respects to the Queen. Many were armed with flowers and messages for the Queen and laid them by the gates of Windsor Castle, the Queen's main official residence. And outside Buckingham Palace, mourners continued to descend on the parks, laying tributes to the Queen. Some had been camping out near the Mall since the Queen's death. Others compare the scenes of the tributes paid to Diana after her death in 1997, when carpets of flowers were laid outside London's palaces. Thousands of people cheered as the cars carrying King Charles and the Queen Consort arrived in Buckingham Palace for a meeting with representatives of the Commonwealth as he takes on the role as head of the Union. He met the Commonwealth General Secretary, Patricia Scotland, separately and left shortly after for Clarence House, his official residence when he was Prince Charles. And after 6 hours, the Queen's cortege arrived at Holyrood House Palace in Edinburgh, where the Queen's coffin will lie at rest overnight. And for the first time in 70 years, the words, "God Save the King," was sung by millions of people attending church services across the UK following the accession of King Charles III as the country's new monarch. Well, there were several services held in the United Kingdom today, with the Christian community holding services marking the Queen's passing. Senior pastor and founder of Kingsway International Christian Centre, KICC, Matthew Ashimolowo, spoke to our London correspondent, Julian Olainka, about the lessons from the late Queen's leadership values.
Earlier today, the world for the first time caught a glimpse of the Queen's coffin as it was driven by road from Balmoral to the Palace of Holyrood House in Edinburgh. Can we start by hearing your thoughts on the life and legacy of the late Elizabeth II?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. Honestly, I wouldn't think of any royal who has had such impact in 70 years of reigning, not only because of the length of time she reigned, but particularly because she was able to garner the whole of the Commonwealth nations and keep them together. She has also been a person who moved her nation and the Commonwealth in general into various strands of change in society. You remember she took over 70 years ago, which incidentally is the year of my birth. So technically, it means that she was the one to witness the various metamorphoses society had gone through. When you have a person in leadership like that, they could either resist change or embrace change. Queen Elizabeth II did not just embrace change, she encouraged change. And I think she will go down on record as one queen who was a balancer, a person who balanced things.
There is deep mourning, of course, in Britain and within the Commonwealth, and even wider than that. There is also mounting anger, especially on social media, and this revolves around the dark side, shall we say, of the British Empire and the pain that has been inflicted upon millions of its consequential victims. Why do you think forgiveness, especially at this point, is so important?
We cannot continue to play the blame game. It is important for people of color to realize that the freedom of a person is not in the hand of someone else. If you keep banging the table of the Queen and saying, we need to see a sense of repentance, how? If all you want is for somebody to verbalize repentance, you can get that. But there will not be a social change and move until we ourselves have a change of mindset. Honestly, this was one of the reasons during the Black Lives Matters movement, I was using my own platform to say, it's not enough to occupy the streets and be screaming Black Lives Matters. We need to have programs, processes, approaches, one, that makes the man of color to realize that he's as good as anyone. Two, for him to actually move on and give forgiveness without even waiting for the person to express it. Three, is to show that he doesn't even need any apologies anymore. Four, we just need also to teach other colors, other people, that we deserve, demand and deserve respect. Then five, we need to also show that if we deserve and demand the respect, we will do things that will immediately command that respect.
Pastor Matthew Ashimolowo, Senior Pastor and Founder of Kingsway International Christian Centre, also known as KICC. Thank you so much for joining me today.
A pleasure. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Staying with the Queen's passing, new British monarch King Charles III will have his plate full in terms of issues to be dealt with as he ascends the throne. That's according to the founder of the British Monarchist Society, Thomas Mace Archer Mills. He told Channels Television's Ladia Kirjulana Current Affairs program Newsnight that following Queen Elizabeth II's death, the new king must steer his country through some of the time's greatest challenges, from economic to political and even royal family issues.
The crown is not an estate where we would say everything is going to be bliss in the court of King Charles III. We have Jamaica looking to leave as a realm to become a republic, the same as Barbados did last year under Her Majesty. We do have a lot of personal family strife, an issue within the family that the new king is trying to sort. And we saw that in his speech to the nation, where he did acknowledge his second son, Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex.
Which have now passed to me.
What he's going to see is possibly a recession within his country, financial issues for people all up and down all four corners of the kingdom during the winter. There's a lot that we are going to be facing, not only with Brexit still looming, but with the Northern Irish Protocol. Financially, we don't know what the markets are going to be either. Right now, with the looming energy crises, the war with Russia, there's so much that is variable, that is changeable. But what he's going to do, things he can do, such as continue to champion the environment, to make the United Kingdom the best it can be there to guide his subjects to the best of his ability, that will be straightforward. He has already gone through the motions of letting people know the type of king he's going to be, what people at home can expect of him, what the dominions, the realms and overseas territories can expect from him, and what the members of the Commonwealth states can expect from him.
You can watch the full interview with Mr. Archer Mills on Newsnight. It airs tomorrow, Monday, September 12 at 9 p.m. right here on Channels Television. Back home, the federal government has dragged members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, to the Industrial Court, seeking redress over the lingering strike by the lecturers. The Minister of Education and his counterpart at the Ministry of Labour and Employment have been leading negotiations with the striking university lecturers since they embarked on the latest strike on February 14 this year, but none of those meetings have been able to resolve the impasse. In a letter addressed to the Chief Registrar of the National Industrial Court, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, urged the court to give accelerated hearing to the matter. The letter reads in part, in view of the fact that members of ASU have been on strike since February 14, 2022, and have refused to call off the action, despite apprehending same, it will be appreciated if this dispute is given an accelerated hearing in order to bring the dispute to an end. ASU and the federal government have been at each other's necks over a strike that has crippled academic activities for over 6 months. Meanwhile, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, and 5 university students have sued President Muhammadu Buhari, asking the court to declare as unlawful government's failure to meet ASU's demands. SERAP blames government's action for the prolonged strike action, which it believes violates the students' right to quality education. Joining the suit as defendants are the Minister of Labour, Dr. Chris Ngige, and Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami. The suit filed on behalf of SERAP and the students by their lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Tayo Oyetibo, is seeking an order directing the President and Dr. Ngige to immediately implement all the agreements with ASU. The rights group maintains the disruption of academic activities undermines both the quality and duration of students' education, which marginalizes economically disadvantaged parents and students. The Department of State Services is warning members of the public to watch utterances over the arrest and subsequent detention of one of the negotiators of the Kaduna train attack, Tukuru Mamu. The service, in a statement by its spokesperson, Peter Afunaya, says although the outcome of its ongoing investigations into the issue are mind-boggling, it is followed with keen observation of overzealous comments by sections of the public over the arrest of Mr. Mamu. The service says it's not distracted by some of the skewed narratives pervading the media space. Instead, it requests to be left alone to concentrate on the ongoing investigations. Meanwhile, the service says it will cease further comments on the subject matter since the court will determine its course. Mr. Mamu was picked up by the DSS in Kano on Wednesday upon his return from Egypt, where he had been interrogated by Interpol before he was extradited to Nigeria. The DSS says the extradition followed a request by Nigeria's military, law enforcement and intelligence community to their foreign partners to bring back Mamu to the country to answer critical questions on ongoing investigations relating to some security matters in parts of the country. In part 2, after the break, Senator Ifeanyi Ubah narrowly escapes death after gunmen attack his convoy in Anambra leaving several of his aides dead. That's in a moment. Join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. Here are the stories making our headlines this hour. Queen Elizabeth's coffin arrives at Palace in Edinburgh after being greeted by thousands of people at the city's Royal Mile. Federal government drags the academic staff union of universities to the industrial court over the lecturers' lingering strike action. Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project SERAP sues President Buhari, asks court to declare its refusal to meet ASU's demands illegal. And U.S. President Joe Biden evokes memory of America's united response to the September 11 attacks as the country marks the 21st anniversary. Was a narrow escape for the senator representing Anambra South Senatorial Zone, Mr. Ifeanyi Ubah, as his convoy came under attack by gunmen today in Njikoka local government area of the state. According to eyewitnesses, the senator's convoy was ambushed by heavily armed men who opened fire on his convoy from all directions. Some of his aides were killed, as were police officers in the attack. The senator is said to have managed to escape, but his bulletproof car was riddled with bullets. In a press statement reacting to the incident, the police public relations officer, DSP Tochukwu Ikenga, disclosed that the Anambra State Commissioner of Police, Mr. Echeng, has already led operatives to the scene at Nkwo Market in Enugu, where the shooting took place. According to him, although the details of the incident are still sketchy, operatives are on the ground and the situation is being monitored. Those are eyewitness videos you're looking at on your screen. But one of the senator's aides told Channels Television that the attack was nothing but an assassination attempt, considering the way the gunmen attacked the senator's convoy from all angles. He, however, says the senator is currently in an undisclosed hospital where he is being stabilized by doctors. A police special task force on petroleum and illegal bunkering has burst an illegal petroleum refining operation in Edo State. The police say they got wind of the illegal operation via a whistleblower who recently created Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation, Nigeria Petroleum Company Command and Control Center portal. The alleged illicit petroleum products refining site is located adjacent to the Agbo Junction in Benin City in Edo State. In a statement by the Force Public Relations Officer, Olumuyiwa Adejobi, 2 suspects, 3 empty DAF trucks and 31 immobile surface tanks, 7 of which were loaded with unspecified quantity of petroleum products, were discovered at the site. Mr. Adejobi explains that the Inspector General of Police has tasked special enforcement units on prevention of activities of economic saboteurs to ensure deployment of necessary manpower and other operational assets to ensure a total clampdown on criminal activities. We'll stay with crime. 3 persons have been rescued by police operatives in Ikara local government area of Kaduna State following their separate abductions by bandits. One of the rescued victims, Yusuf Abubakar, was kidnapped on September 4 at Bade village. The abductors demanded the sum of 50 million naira for his release. In a statement by police spokesperson in the state, Muhammad Jalige, the victim was later rescued by a police patrol team on September 9 along Ikara-Tashan Yari Road after police operatives intercepted bandits in a motorcycle conveying 3 persons. In another operation on September 9, 2022, police operatives patrolling along Zaria-Kano Expressway rescued 2 women kidnapped by bandits in Kano and Kaduna states. The operatives also recovered various arms and ammunition from the bandits. In Zamfara State, the government is arming residents with the necessary tools to safeguard themselves and communities from banditry attacks with a training program on early warning and response to attacks. A training which covers 4 communities in Gusau and Bundugu local government areas focuses on information sharing as a tool to tackling banditry.
Zamfara State, like many states in northwest Nigeria, has come under serious security threats in recent times, with bandits launching attacks on communities in the state almost on a daily basis. And as security operatives are working to tackle the challenge, the citizens are rising up to the occasion as they undertake capacity building training on village monitoring, early warning and response to attacks in their localities aimed at restoring peace to the state.
What these people do is that they go to the communities, identify, problems, issues that can result to a bigger problem and escalate it to the security agencies for them to respond.
The participants are drawn from Gulunku, Regia, Reshi and Nauche communities in Gusau and Bungudu local government areas of Zamfara State, and they are taken through the rudiments of information gathering and sharing that will enable them report promptly any security threat around them.
Most of this banditry, before they will attack, people will be seeing them converging, coming one after the other. Before they finish conversion, if you report early, police will now stamp on them, and it will avert them from committing any crime they wanted to do, be it cattle rustling, be it kidnapping or whatever. But if you did not report, and we have a lot of numbers that you call, and they were available to the members of the public, so the members of the public should have confidence in reporting to the police.
The residents are happy to serve as safety partners, as they also promise to identify members of their communities who serve as informants to bandits.
Before this program, we don't have anything like early warning, early response. We are just like redundant. When we have issue, we don't know the person to report to. We don't have the right channel to even follow to send any signal of insecurity within our community. But thank God, this training has given us insight on how we deal with insecurity challenges in within our community.
Organizers say they plan to expand their coverage of the training to other parts of Zamfara State.
For the first time in more than a decade, passenger train services has taken off in Bauchi State following the rehabilitation of a 6-kilometer rail track for intra-city services. Boko Haram insurgency halted railway operations in the northeast state, and the situation was made worse by activities of vandals. Our correspondent Hajira Aliyu captures moments from the return of rail services at the Bauchi railway station.
A coach rests on a rail track, waiting to connect to a rail bus to begin its journey. The ticket sales point is busy, and the once redundant railway staff of the Northeastern Divisional Office Bauchi are active again. It's an old train. Some of the parts were down for 20 years, but now repaired along with the rehabilitation of a section of the rail tracks for the purpose of intra-city services. This journey wouldn't have been possible a decade ago due to Boko Haram insurgency. Vandals also had a free rein during the period. Some of the steel rails of the abandoned sections are now fragmented, and locals utilize the tracks to spread their clothes. The train runs 2 trips 5 days in a week from Bauchi to Inkil substation. Each trip is accompanied by security personnel.
On board are passengers heading to Inkil, a suburb of Bauchi metropolis. Most of them, especially the children, are excited to have a first-time experience of a 5-kilometer rail journey. Authorities are considering extending the services to Alkaleri local government area and Gombe states.
It's a spectacle for locals along the route as passengers relish the moment.
I decided to come and see it firsthand, and I'm actually impressed.
Malam Idris reminisces the good old days as he takes his 9 children on their first ride.
a ringa fada da abun yana tafiya har Maiduguri na yana tafiya har Lagos Port Harcourt kamar yadda aka saba da idan aka yaka to sauran abubuwa zai ci gaba kuma za a ji daɗin al'amura din.
Last year, the federal government awarded the contract for the rehabilitation of the Eastern Rail Corridor. The new district manager highlights why the commencement of intra-city trip is essential.
If we are waiting for the Eastern Line, we don't know when it will reach Bauchi, Toklas, or Maiduguri. So I believe that we need to start something, and it will reduce equally the rate of vandalism at which people are vandalizing our track. We are using it as a security too, so that as we move, people know that railway is equally existing. Nobody will come and tamper with our material again.
For now, Bauchi residents are enjoying the services, like Suleiman, who says he found love on a train, and Kemi's friends gifts her a first train experience for her birthday. Happy birthday to you. Hajara Aliyu, Channels Television News.
Well, it's just as well. This next story is focused on relationships. A variety of issues such as lack of intimacy, excessive career pursuits, and infidelity are on the list of gaps what leads to gaps in marital relationships. Bridging these gaps is what the 2022 edition of the University of Marriage focuses on. Convener of the conference, Apostle Folorunsho Alakija, advises couples to put into practice prescriptions which will help them have a blissful relationship.
Lift up your voice and bless the name of Jesus.
An uplifting praise and worship session to kickstart the 2022 edition of University of Marriage Conference tagged Bridging Marital Gaps. This year's topic is a timely one, especially with the issues surrounding the marriage institution in recent times. Data from Eurostat shows that some 1.4 million marriages took place among EU member states in 2020, and this may be expressed as 3.2 marriages for every 1,000 persons. World Population Review also states that during the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020 to 2021, lockdowns and restrictions on public gatherings affected marriage rates, dropping it significantly in nearly every country in the world, including Nigeria.
What you call your spouse determines whom your spouse is.
Lack of communication, love, commitment, and intimacy, among others, are some of the factors that can take a toll on a marriage, which is why the convener, Apostle Folorunsho Alakija, founder of Rose of Sharon Glorious Ministry International, advises couples to nurture their marriages by giving it the attention it deserves.
We can liken our marriages and what's going on and what God desires to be something that needs to be nurtured. If we don't take the right decisions at the right time, if we're not conversant with what's going on around us and find solutions to our problems, then marriages will go from separation to divorce.
One after the other, guest speakers give their take on solutions to marital problems.
You need to create boundaries for your home and your marriage.
At a time when young people appear uninterested in marriage, these young couples say the topic is one they can relate with.
We are very early, so some things that I feel we could encounter in the future. Having a blueprint for solving those problems, even before we run into them, is something good. And for sure, it made sense that this would apply to us.
I just key into the communication part. If there is no communication, no good communication, in marriage it cannot work. Like, I'm really glad for I and my husband because we take the communication thing very, very key. If we're not cool with anything, we trash it out.
Bridging Marital Gaps was taken from Ephesians 5:21-29, and Apostle Alakija gives reason for its selection.
God is not interested in divorce. He wants humans that he created to be fruitful and to multiply. He wants them to dominate the earth and to fill the earth. To do that, you need to remain married. Marriages need to work. Families need to stay together. So, if they're not staying together, that is blocking his purpose from continuing to manifest.
For the past 7 years, the University of Marriage Conference has been helping to provide solutions to marital deadlocks affecting couples, with a view to protecting the sacred institution, preserving values, and improving the quality of relationships between husband and wife.
The World Health Organization, in collaboration with the Yobe state government, has commenced risk communication training on cholera, monkeypox and measles across the 9 local government councils of the state recently affected by floods. The state coordinator of the WHO, Dr. Nuhu Barao Ningi, explains that after training, the health champions will be dispatched to conduct house-to-house sensitization campaign to curtail the outbreak of these diseases.
Yobe is one of the states that have been affected by flood in 9 of its local government councils, with no record of deaths but properties worth millions of naira, including 2 bridges in Kujba and Gulani local government councils, have been washed away. The World Health Organization coordinator in the states, Dr. Nuhu Barao Ningi, speaks on the World Health Organization's mandates.
World Health Organization, in its $3 billion targets, to ensure that community, individuals, people are protected from outbreak, and to ensure universal health coverage.
He further explains that the exercise will last for 4 to 5 days with rigorous house-to-house sensitization campaigns in order to ensure that the communities know the causes of all the diseases and their preventions.
The purpose of this training is actually to empower the community stakeholders so that they are able to make an informed decision on the prevention of outbreaks. We are actually talking about cholera now, but we are also taking the opportunity to inform the community on other diseases that pose public health threats.
While appreciating the WHO for the support, the Executive Secretary of the State Primary Health Care Board, represented by the Deputy Director in charge of Family and Community Health, reveals that the collaboration with other partners is yielding results.
The issue of cholera is not only Ministry of Health. It cut across. Ministry of Water Resources is also fully part of it, because as we all know that the issue of cholera also linked with the issue of potable drinking water. So we normally engage with all these MDs to ensure that we address the issue collectively.
With the sensitization exercise, the government is optimistic that the chances of outbreak of cholera and other diseases will be reduced in flood-prone areas.
Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma says all is set for President Muhammadu Buhari's visit to the state on Tuesday, September 13th, to commission some projects initiated by his administration. Addressing newsmen during an inspection tour on some of those projects, Governor Uzodinma said the economic benefits of these projects cannot be overemphasized, as these projects had been abandoned by previous administrations.
Tuesday, September the 13th, 2022. President Muhammadu Buhari will be in Imo to inaugurate some legacy projects initiated by the Uzodinma-led administration, including the reconstructed and dualized Olu-Owerri Federal Road, the Okigwe-Owerri Federal Road, and the reconstructed Imo State House of Assembly complex. To ensure a smooth hosting of the nation's leader, Governor Hope Uzodinma is on an inspection tour of the projects ahead of the visit. He says these projects have been left to rot by previous administrations.
It is a very good thing of joy that the road came out very well. The Okigwe Road, in the same manner, is also a very critical economic road that links travelers to not only Abia State, Akwa Ibom State, Cross River State. It also helps farmers to bring their products to the urban centers for a better market. So I think we're happy. You look at this place, the House of Assembly. Over 11 years was abandoned. We made this place inanimate. Now you can see we put life back to the place, and it is something that through prudent management of our lean resources, we've been able to come this far.
He further conveys the mood of the state ahead of the presidential visit.
We are good to go. The projects are all ready as planned, and just minor touches which will happen between today and tomorrow. Tuesday, the Mr. President will be here by the grace of God to commission all the projects. It's very important, particularly given that all these things are happening under his leadership. It will be important for him to first-hand see things for himself and see the achievements we've recorded within the period under review and the contributions of his administration towards the economic well-being of Imo people.
Elsewhere, at a press conference, the Commissioner for Information in the state assures the people of adequate security before, during, and after the visit.
Security is absolutely guaranteed. Absolutely, I can assure you that. Because we are talking of the Commander-in-Chief coming to one of the states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is under his watch. So, whatever that needs to be done to ensure that the place is safe will not only be done, but will be seen to be done. Complete. So, I can tell you that there will be no threat whatsoever to security.
This is the third time President Muhammadu Buhari will be inaugurating projects in Imo State since Governor Uzodinma assumed office.
Border communities along the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway are calling on the federal and state governments to rehabilitate the failing tollgate bridge and canal on that axis. The worsening state of the canal and the link bridge have led to loss of lives, especially during the rainy season. Residents say a major disaster can be averted only if appropriate authorities act fast. Our correspondent, Dari Duwu, has more.
This is an axis of the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway, and driving on that road, especially with articulated trucks, comes with a high degree of risk. The ever-busy link bridge at the Sangota axis has lost shape and gradually falling apart. The piles are the debris of garbage and after effect of erosion. But worse still is the dangerous and deadly canal that spans across communities in Lagos and Ogun states. Pa Michael Aremu lost his wife in this canal in 2016 and cannot believe the waterway is still as deadly as it was then, despite efforts from the community to get help from the government.
We have tried our possible best before these people came to extend the dredging. And the dredging, this thing, look at the river, but look at the dredging. 20 feet. That was why we are unable to cross again. My wife was going out that day. We were using plank to cross that time. The plank was there, but very early in the morning, maybe she did not see well. I cannot say. She fell, and I rushed her to hospital. But notwithstanding, he died the 5th day.
I'm Ololade Okwemi. I'm also a member of...
Ololade Okwemi works at the Abatua mini market by the canal. They have also lost a member during a heavy rainfall.
We're hearing somebody has been carried by the water, but nobody can move close because you're also scared of your own life. So it was after the level of the water has gone down, which the deed has already been done. We now started running helter-skelter, which... So it's always very, 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 very bad. It has caused several havoc. There was a time this bridge, we were even thinking it was going to collapse because the bridge, when the water level actually got very, very high, that vehicles could not even pass. They had to wait for over, like, I think, hours before, after the rain, and water level should go down before. That was when this stuff came down.
Erosion is hitting the community hard through the widening canal, and the effects are hard to measure. They have even built a defense against the surging water, but like they say, water always finds its way.
Where I'm standing is Lagos, so what you're looking at in the background, that is Ogun State. So they used to have a link bridge here, at least a makeshift one, that would allow people who live across this particular community cross to this one, but the canal has gone so bad, so wide, that it cannot even allow the makeshift link bridge.
This is also taking a huge toll on businesses in the area.
And it is not something an individual or a community can face financially. We are just using this opportunity to appeal to the state government, Lagos State and Ogun State, as well as federal government to come to our aid.
As these residents continue to seek the urgent attention of appropriate authorities to fix the worn-out bridge and the widening canal, they say they are running out of self-help options to avert more fatal incidents in the area. Dari Ido, Channels Television News.
Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency have apprehended a Brazilian returnee and father of two, Okoli Apollonius, at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, after he excreted 92 wraps of cocaine, which he ingested after days under observation. In the same vein, a 42-year-old man, Aliu Bello, has been arrested at the Malam Aminu Kano International Airport, Kano, for attempting to export psychoactive substances to Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, collaboration between operatives of the NDLEA and the Nigeria Customs led to the seizure of 1,099,000 tablets of tramadol, 225 milligrams, at the Mirza Mohammed International Airport in Ikeja. The pharmaceutical opioids, packed in 50 cartons weighing 2,058 kilograms, were imported from Pakistan via Addis Ababa on Ethiopian Airways. Politics now. A group of young Nigerians under the aegis of People's Democratic Party New Generation believe that the 2023 general elections will be about the survival and preservation of Nigeria. Leaders of the group, which include the son of the embattled PDP national chairman, Shima Ayu, says the PDP's new generation will not be drawn into personality clashes within the party, but would focus on rescuing Nigeria from total collapse.
The internal crisis within the ranks of the opposition People's Democratic Party between the Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike and the party's national chairman Iyorchia Ayu has given these young members of the party a reason to plan on how to approach the 2023 general elections. They are called the People's Democratic Party New Generation Team, and they're in Benue State, which is the home state of the party's embattled national chairman Iyorchia Ayu and the Benue State Governor Samuel Otom, who's a keen supporter of the Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike. They are hoping to begin some sort of reconciliation at this meeting in Makurdi, the Benue State capital. Speaking at the sidelines of the inauguration of the Benue State chapter of the PDP New Generation, the group said it will not be drawn into the crisis at the national level, but will learn from it.
They are our leaders, they are our fathers. They have been in this business way longer than we have been. Our role is not to settle them. Our role is to ensure that we, the younger generations, and we following them, don't imbibe any of the differences that they have now and keep the party united on the youth and the women front right now. It's to ensure that when they are done, because right now it's basically just differences, different interest groups with all trying to get their differences. Our end goals are the same. So we can't get involved in what is happening at the leadership level. We just have to ensure that we, the younger generation, stay on message and keep pushing the message of the People's Democratic Party.
The People's Democratic Party New Generation is hoping to work with the Benue State Governor and the IU-led faction to not only retain the state in the next governorship election, but capture the other 5 states in the north-central region.
Meanwhile, former governor of Taraba State, Reverend Jolin Yame, says his more than 4 years in incarceration at the Kuje Correctional Center in Abuja has placed him in an advantaged position to understand the pains of the people of Nigeria. He was speaking at an event welcoming him back to the state, where thousands of people thronged the stadium where it was taking place. Representatives of the National Assembly urged him to work towards the progress and development of Taraba.
For the first time since his release via presidential pardon, the first civilian and former governor of Taraba State, Reverend Jolie Nyame, is making his way back to the state amidst cheers and jubilations. He was sentenced to 12 years imprisonment at the Kuje Correctional Center in Abuja in 2018 for misappropriation of public funds to the tune of 1.6 billion naira, and released on August 8, 2022, following an approval by the Council of State to pardon 157 convicts in April this year. From the Dambaba Suntai Airport through the streets of Jalingo, the state capital, and terminated at the Jolie Nyame Stadium, the excitement is overwhelming. The state governor, represented by the Speaker of the Taraba State Assembly, applauded President Muhammadu Buhari for the presidential pardon granted the former governor. However, he asked that Mr. Nyame forgives those behind his incarceration.
Your Excellency, as a Christian and a clergy for that matter, let go the past and forgive all those who in one way or the other must have offended you. After all, life is divided in three terms: that which was, which is, and which will be.
For the former governor, his detention was divine and has placed him at the right position to understand what the masses are passing through in Nigeria. And he is now even better informed to tell them the path to follow ahead of the general elections in 2023.
I have no grudge against anybody. I have forgiven all those that were behind my incarceration. Because all I know, God used them for a purpose. I am better off now than before. So why should I grudge?
The return of Jolie Nyame is expected to change the political landscape of Taraba State, especially the calls for a power shift to the northern part of the state, as both the ruling People's Democratic Party and the All Progressives Congress have chosen their governorship candidates from the southern zone. Many believe this decision by both parties goes contrary to the rotational system of governance in the state.
And now to the arts. Now I Know Why Birds Fly is a solo exhibition by Ayonfe Olarinde at the African Artists Foundation in Lagos. This emerging contemporary artist reveals societal issues, especially as it affects a young creative who is yearning to become better against all odds. We'll see his works on Art Review tonight.
Clippings, symbolistic of birds alongside the artist's statement, are part of the welcome party at this solo exhibition by contemporary artist Ayonfe Olarinde, organized by the African Artists Foundation in Lagos.
It's called Jagaism. Jagaism was coined from the word Jaga Jaga. Jaga Jaga, as we all know here in Nigeria, is means something haphazard, something loose, something scattered, something crooked, you get. So basically, Jagaism was inspired by a time, a moment in my life where I felt like lots of people didn't really understand the style I was doing, which was scribble art, right? So I was just putting together lines, and a lot of people didn't really understand where I was headed with that. They didn't really know that I was trying to create a piece. So yeah, most times I was getting the hate word of, oh yeah, this girl is doing Jaga Jaga, Jaga Jaga. As a way for me to become resistant to those things, I had to start calling myself a Jagaism artist, because yeah, it's actually who I was. I was always creating works from crooked lines, you guys. So basically, it's like a therapeutic process of self-acceptance.
The artist put all her experiences from COVID to isolation to this moment in these images to display the need to break the shackles and urge to encounter the world.
It's a show with a lot of emotions. If you see that there's a lot of references to family, friends, also loved ones that are lost. So it's basically a palette, a different palette of our emotions and our experiences in 2021.
It's a global village, they say, and what happens at one end usually has a domino effect on others, despite the distance in between. These exhibits dissect it through exploring the issue of identity, social reality, mental well-being, and tradition.
I don't try to impose what I want people to see when they see my work. Basically, I want people to experience themselves, experience whatever it is they wish to experience. Again, I don't like to impose feelings in the viewers of my art.
For Olarinde, there's only one race, the human race. So this graduate from the University of Lagos employs scribbling, photography, and multi-layered techniques to show that the world is your oyster, but free to move and fly.
Americans are honoring victims of the 9/11 attacks 21 years since the horrific incident has shook the world. Earlier today, President Joe Biden recalled American unity after the attacks that killed nearly 3,000 Americans.
It's 8:46, the moment when the first of two planes hit the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001.
In days to come, the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established as the highest of the mountains.
The Bell of Hope, as it is called, has rung on every anniversary since 2002, when it was presented to New York City by London to honor the nearly 3,000 people who died in the attacks.
Oh, say, can you see?
Over at the Pentagon, the U.S. flag was unfurled as a police officer sang the national anthem in pouring rain, and bagpipes later played Amazing Grace. Later in the morning, at a solemn commemoration at the Pentagon, President Joe Biden invoked the memory of America's united response to the attacks and vowed to never give up in the face of terrorist threats.
I hope we'll remember that in the midst of these dark days, we dug deep, we cared for each other, and we came together. You know, we regained the light by reaching out to one another and finding something all too rare, a true sense of national unity. To me, that's the greatest lesson of September 11.
This year's anniversary comes a year after President Biden ended the U.S.-led war in Afghanistan, launched 2 decades ago, to root out the Al-Qaeda militant group that carried out the 9/11 attacks after plotting them from Afghanistan. U.S. First Lady Jill Biden was in Shanksville, Pennsylvania field, where the hijacked Flight 93 crashed, preventing the terrorists from hitting the Capitol, their intended target. She re-echoed the president's message of a united America after the attacks.
9/11 touched us all. It changed us all. But it reminds us that with courage and kindness, we can be a light in that darkness. It showed us that we are all connected to one another.
And for relatives of the victims, 9/11-2001 remains fresh in their memories.
It's a sad day. You know, we all know we're exactly where we were when, you know, we saw the second plane more often than not hit the building and going, you know, what the heck's going on here now?
There's a build-up, like, you know, over the summer, you know, a little more anxiety every day. And to this point, and it's just always, you know, an anxious day. And after the day's over, when I go home, then you're just like physically exhausted, like you ran a marathon. And but yeah, no, never has changed.
And while politicians are not allowed to speak on the memorial grounds, many have lamented U.S. extremism and increased calls for national unity that emerged from the ruins of 9/11.
In sports news, NPFL champions Rivers United have kick-started their 2022-2023 CAF Champions League on a solid note with a 3-0 win against Liberia's Watanga FC in the first leg of the preliminary round played at the Adokie Amesiamaka Stadium in Port Harcourt this evening. All 3 goals came in the first half of the match. Kenneth Chukwuagu got the opener. As early as the 8th minute of the first half, Ebube Duru and Ghana's Paul Akwa got the other goals in the 18th minute and 45th minute of the game. Meanwhile, Kwara United also made good use of their home advantage to defeat Niger's AS Douane in the CAF Confederation Cup played at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena in Lagos. Paul Sampson opened scoring as early as the 5th minute of the game against Niger Cup winners as Douane in the 5th minute. AS Douane in the 5th minute. Monsieur Jimo scored Kwara United's second goal from the penalty spot after 17 minutes before he got his brace 5 minutes from the break. Formula One earlier this evening joined the sporting world to pay respects to the Queen, who died at the age of 96 on Thursday. An impeccably observed minute's silence was followed by a round of applause for Britain's longest reigning monarch from both on the grid and in the grandstands at the Italian GP. And the main news again, Queen Elizabeth II's coffin has arrived in the palace at Edinburgh after it was greeted by thousands of people at the city's Royal Mile. And that's it on the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubari. Good night.